Right. So, very good morning and good evening to everyone. By the way, this is Raj here. I'm your trainer for Guidewire BA. Because I'm glad to know, some people for having some knowledge over the Guideware part. Some people I could see, some people from insurance, some people are not. But of course, this is the first demo kind of, right? So, demo kind of session. Let me explain you what verification is all about, and why Guidewire application we are using nowadays in the organization, and where are these being used. So there are three questions you need to know. Let me write down. Can you see the screen now? Is it visible for everyone? If you have any questions, you can ask me once it is over. Okay. So there are three questions we are discussing today. What Guidewire is, why and where Guidewire is being used. Okay. These are the two questions. First of all, as a new entrant, you guys, right? So first of all, you must be knowing about this, right? So what Guideware is, at the same time, you must be knowing about why Guideware is using. And before you'd like to know about the Guideware, importance of Guideware application, first of all, you must be knowing about the insurance industry. Normal insurance is sector, or an insurance sector, I can say, more than industry. I call it as insurance sector. Insurance sector, usually we can classify into two different parts: health insurance, life insurance, right? So this is all part of one category. Health insurance means a person wants to take any health plans, right? So this is all about health insurance. That is one category. Other than health insurance, whatever the other insurances do we have, either it can be vehicle insurance, it can be motor insurance, two-wheelers, four-wheelers, commercial vehicles, personal vehicles, home insurance, inland marine. Inland marine means uh, when we do the merchandising at ocean, right? So rivers and all, right? So cargo ships. This is all about inland marine. So there are different insurances are there. Normally these insurances we call it as LOB, which stands for line of business. Okay. Normally in insurance we call it as LOB, which called it lines of business. Lines of business we call it as in insurance market. Insurance sector is very big across the world. I'm referring to, because a person wants to take any four-wheeler insurance, or a person has bought a home, right? So he want to insure his home against to the natural calamities or fire, thefting, all that. So insurance is a part in day-to-day life even. When we bought a new vehicle, either it can be a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler, or you when you bought a new home, or any manufacturing industry is there. So they can also ensure that against to any unfortunate events may happen. Either it can be fire accidents or something like. So they wants to compensate, like, because if you see a manufacturing industry which is very big in size, depends on the size of the investment. Lot of machinery, lot of buildings, manpower. So many workers used to work within the factories. So there are possibilities. Sometimes unfortunate events may be taken place. That has to be compensated, right? So workers' compensation, for example, worker got injured while he's working in the industry, unfortunately. So he might be injured permanently or temporarily injury. So his family must be compensated against to the, because he's the breadwinner for the family. So that must be compensated to the family for their livelihoods, etc. So workers' compensation, commercial insurance, commercial vehicle, personal vehicle, everything is part of property and casualty insurance. This is an insurance sector. You can see any companies, right? So all these companies belongs to P&C insurance business. Line of businesses can be anything. For example, some line of businesses were called as home insurance. Okay. Home insurance means, as I told you, when a person has bought a home, so that has to be insured. It's called home insurance. Next, commercial vehicle. Personal vehicle. Inland marine. Workers' compensation. These are all be part of line of businesses. Some companies may be experiencing in few line of businesses. Some companies may be experiencing in few line of businesses. For example, if you take some insurance company, they may be having very good business in commercial lines, commercial vehicle insurance. They may be very good, right? So they have more customer base in commercial vehicle. Somebody have very good presence in the market of workers' compensation. Somebody may be in inland marine. So it differs, okay? Because end of the day, these are all the line of businesses. Which line of businesses they were experiencing of, that is different, right? It may vary from company to company. It may vary irrespective of the size of the company I'm referring to, right? So some companies may be mid-level organizations, some are larger. Even you can see some companies for more than 100 years of experience in the field of insurance as well. So this is the overall context. Now, why these Guidewire or some other applications are required in the industry? Because any insurance company, if they wants to manage their business operations, they have to perform three things. First, they have to manage their policies. Any insurance company, okay, I'm referring to property casualty insurance company, okay, need to perform some business activities. Right. So what these business activities are? These business activities are as follows. One, they wants to manage policies. Policy management. That is point number one. Policy management means, for example, any creation of new policies, cancellations, renewals, everything they have to manage. This is also called as policy administration system. Okay. They have to manage the policies of the customer. Normally, companies don't give policies directly. Person has to apply. Normally, insurance is not considered as a sales. We don't call it as sales. Insurance upon request. For example, X is a person has bought a four-wheeler vehicle. He'll go to an insurance company and he'll submit an application stating that I have bought a new vehicle. I want some insurance for my vehicle. See, this is upon application that we submit. Underwriting process means what kind of risk assessment is there, right? So what type of vehicle, when it was manufactured, who is driving the vehicle, what type of vehicle is this? Is it a LMV or a HMV? LMV means light motor vehicle. HMV means heavy motor vehicles. Heavy motor vehicles used for the commercial purposes. Light motor vehicles are being used for the regular day-to-day these things. Okay. So normally these vehicles has to be insured. So upon application that is submitted, insurance company will undergo the underwriting process. Risk assessment will be done. So once the risk assessment done, if they have identified based upon the risk assessment, they will give a quotation to the customer. Once customer is accepted with the quotation, they will pay, then policy will create. So policy creations, end of the day, policies to be created. And policies can be renewed, policies can be cancelled, reinsurance. So this is also any organization and insurance company wants to manage their business activity. One of the business activities policies, policy management system. Point number one. Point number two, second is billing. Billing means, for example, any person wants to pay the premium, insurance premium for their insurance policy that they're about to take. right? So they pay the insurance premium amount, or else any renewals. Okay. At the same time, insurance is not something an individual will be taken directly. Through an agent or a broker, normally will be taken. So when we have taken this through an insurance agent or a broker, they get some commission out of it based on the insurance premium that we have paid. On that, they get some commission. So we need to calculate some commissions all that also. So this is all something will be part of billing. Point number 2. Point number 3. For example, a person has taken a four-wheeler vehicle, collide with an accident somewhere out, unfortunately. Now the vehicle got damaged. Whose fault was that? That's a different story. वो अलग बात है. That is different. But end of the day, the vehicle got damaged due to an unfortunate situation. Either it can be a major or a minor. So that vehicle has to be compensated rightly. Means against to the repairs and all that. That has to be compensated. So what an individual do? An individual will contact an insurance company where a person is having an insurance policy, and he applied, this is the situation and this is what the incident was happened. So there is a process which normally we call it as claims. Okay, this is what generally we call it as claims process. Claims process. Claims process means a person having holding an insurance policy. If there is any unfortunate situation came, so they can apply for a claim to the insurance company. Insurance company will verify and validate whether to what extent the damage is happened, whose fault was that. They do the scene inspection based upon the type of plan the person has taken, based upon the coverage benefits that plan is holding. So whatever the reimbursement they pay will be done by the department. So to manage claims also you require something. So because there were many, but major are 3 functionalities in insurance company. One, they issue policies to the customers according to the application they submitted, based on the underwriting process, whether the policy to be issued or not. If it is issued, at what cost, right? Everything will be decided under the policy management. Billing means premiums, at the same time commissions that are being paid to the insurer brokers. So this is all part of billing. Third, claims means any policy that is issued. If there is any kind of claims that are being taken place, that should also be part of it. So this is called as claims. So these are the 3 major business activities any insurance company has to perform. Any company. I'm not saying any 1 or 2, right? So there are 3. So to manage these applications, to manage these operations, or to manage these activities, even though it's a human intervention, you cannot do it manually, right? So you must use some application to do that. We require some applications. Those are called as follows. The first one we call it as Guidewire. We have many applications. I'm naming few. Guidewire, Duck Creek, Majesco, etc. Right? So these are the etc. Right? So these are the few applications I'm saying. Guidewire, Duck Creek, Majesco. At the same time, some internal old legacy policy or billing or claims applications they were using for a long time. That's a different story. Right? So end of the day, there must be an application or there must be an automation process is required to manage this. Even though human intervention is involved, the process must be done through an application because this is being accessed by multiple people in different zones and different roles. Depends on the role they perform, whatever the activities will be done by them is different. For example, if you're talking about policy management system, I'll show you an example to you. Let's say this is a policy center in Guidewire. This is majorly used for the policies. If you want to create a policy for a customer, who will be doing it? Normally, agent or a broker will have a right to do that. Okay? Agent or a broker. means nothing but a producer. Normally in Guidewire or in insurance terms, we call it as producer. The role is called as that. So producer has to create a account on behalf of the customer. So first of all, we have to create an account first. Okay. For example, we have created an account. Once we have created an account, based on the account creation, we can create a policy for a particular customer. For example, she is the customer. We have created an account. We want to have, this customer want to have some insurance policy. Okay. Some insurance policy they want, right? Some insurance policy. What kind of insurance? For example, they want some personal, some plus. So this application has to be submitted. So there must be an application required to process these transactions. Either it can be for policy center, or it can be billing, or it can be claims, or it can be of anything. So there are applications, especially like Guidewire, Duck Creek, Majesco. All these applications are being used in the organizations to manage these applications, or to manage these business processes. So that's the reason why we are using these. Company to company, this may vary because somebody use Guidewire, somebody use Duck Creek, somebody use Majesco, right? So different things. Now, here is a question anyone can ask me then, right? Raj, then why Guidewire are we using nowadays? Okay. Where are we using? I told you, right? So in insurance companies, it is being used. What Guidewire is? Guidewire is an insurance product. It's a core insurance product, I can say, to make it very simple. It's an insurance suite. This Guidewire is an insurance suite. We normally call it as, is it policy center, billing center, and claim center. It's a combination of three. It's called as a Guidewire insurance suite. It's it. Okay, now major point one to be known everyone is that why Guidewire is being used extensively in the industry, right? So why is it so popular? So what is the reason behind? There are few reasons behind using Guidewire nowadays in the organizations are as follows. Why we are using Guidewire extensively in the organization level? Because Guideware, of course, other applications also have the cloud environment, but Guideware is a cloud application. Cloud access. Guideware has a cloud access. So why is it advantageous? Because if you want to manage any applications in the organization level, there were many. Okay, maybe you may have 10, 20 applications we use, some CRM, ERPs, payroll management systems, for policies, for billing, for claims, right? So not less than 10, 20 applications we use for different purposes. When you want to manage application, you require some infrastructure, right? So you require some infrastructure, you require some firewalls, right? So you want to manage your own data centers, which is an expensive thing, okay? Which is an expensive affair, even to invest, even to, okay? Which is expensive. So big companies can do that, but still even it's a burdensome for them, but big companies can manage. But when it comes to the mid-level and low-level organizations, or initial organizations, or mid-level companies, or who are going for expansion of their businesses, it's difficult to manage the infrastructure. So cloud access, if you have a cloud access, the advantage is that you don't require to invest anything on the infrastructure side. You don't need to invest anything regarding the infrastructure. Infrastructure cost will be zero for you. Pay per use means whatever you are paying, you are using only for that. That is where generally Guidewire is meant for. Guidewire has an advantage of it. That is point number one. Point number two, as Guidewire has an insurance suite which combines all PC, BC, and CC, necessarily need not be taken all the three modules. For example, XYZ is an insurance company. They are using already a policy center, old policy application they were using for a very long time. Now they want to use some claim center. Okay, they want to change the claim center to Guidewire Claim. That is their requirement. Or billing center, that is their requirement. So they can take any one module. They don't need to take all the three modules. They can take any one module. Either it can be billing center or a claim center. They can take from the Guidewire. And this can be integrated with our local internal and external systems. Normally, two kind of things. One is old legacy on-premise services, and second is cloud applications. So on-premise means we have a server within our locality wherein we are connecting and we are accessing the data on-premise. Data, everything is managed within our premises. Cloud means the application, even infrastructure management, services, even platform, everything will be on the cloud environment, virtual environment. You are using based upon the services that are being used by us, we are paying for that. That is the difference, major difference you see. So advantage in Guidewire Insurance Suite is that you don't need to take all the three modules. Any one can be taken apart based upon our choice. So this is the reason why many organizations want some Guidewire application to be used in their organization. Either some people are in the stage of transforming from old system to Guidewire. Somebody are still using Guidewire application. But when they are using application, what is needed? There are some changes you want to make. For example, this is an application, as I told you, it's a policy center application. This is, for example, account creation. This is a form. This form, do remember policy center. I'm giving an example of policy center. Billing center and claims is also one of the same, but I'm giving an example to you. Let's say this is a policy center. This application is already, this is a product. Guidewire Policy Center product is already developed. And an organization level, this product, I can use it. Whatever the fields, everything were ready. But I may require to add some new field to the existing one. Okay, I want to add some new additional field required. Or in this drop-down box, I want to add some new entity to the existing one. So I want some kind of changes to be made into the existing application that I'm about to use or the one which I may use it. So who will do these changes? These changes will be done by the developers because they have an access to the Guidewire Developer Studio. Whatever the code is there for the project, normally that code changes will be done by the developers because if you see any application, you have three layers. You have three layers in the application. Okay. The first layer is called UI, which is called presentation. Whatever the policy center, billing center, user interface, you would see it on the screen. That is called UI, user interface. Okay. This is UI layer. This UI layer required some changes. As I tell you, for example, page to be configured, fields to be added, entities to be added into the drop-down box. So these kind of changes might require, okay, user interface, presentation layer. Second, business logic layer. This is where generally code will be developed or whichever the code was there. If you want to modify the code, writing the new code, everything done under the BLL, which is called business logic layer. The third is data layer. Data layer means where we are storing all the data. Either it can be a policy data, claims data. Everything will be stored in the data layer. From here, we will be accessing to the user interface. Okay. So this is an application. Now, there are some changes required in the integration, user interface. We want to make some changes in the user interface. Or else, for example, this policy center, I want to connect this policy center to the claim center. Why? In the organization level, I'm saying. Because a person who has applied for the claim must be a person having a policy account. Okay, policy number is required. So based on the policy number, I will come to know what type of policy is this, what type of benefits will it be there. So based on that, whether the processing of claim can be done, what is to be repaid to them, reimbursed, everything will be decided based on that. So there must be some integration is required. So any application, I'm not referring any Guidewire as separate, any application you see, there are two things. One is configuration. Second is integration. Okay. Configuration means existing application, you are making some necessary changes. Integration means you are integrating one application to another application. For example, policy center, You are integrating with Claim Center. You may be integrating with some third-party underwriting tools, underwriting companies. You may be integrating with some CRM applications. You may require to integrate with some ERP applications. This is what generally we call it as integration. For that, generally we create APIs, all that stuff. That's a different story. So this is all we call it as integration. So there are two things. One is about configuration. Second is integration. Now, who will be doing this? These changes will be done by the developers. Okay, developers write the code or existing code changes and all will be done by them. Whatever the code they have changed and all that has to be tested by the testing team. But end of the day, if a developer or a tester wants to make some changes, there must be a source of information should be given by the person. That's where generally the role of a business analyst come into picture. Understood, everyone? You're clear? You're clear or not?
Yes. Actually, one more point, like here, you're talking about the infrastructure will not be creating into this application, but you will be customized this application, right? Then we will be deployed to the somewhere or customized cloud, right?
Can you repeat your question? Your question doesn't have
No,
the
no.
clarity.
Yeah. Like infrastructure, no need of this application. Using this application, infrastructure is not required. Like that one you're talking, starting point, correct?
We are not talking about anything relating to infrastructure. It is nothing to do with it.
Yes, correct. So will be Guidewire will be customize the some part of the application. Any company will be customize the like some new requirement or any changes. So then you will be deployed to the automatically in same cloud environment or will be creating separate cloud each company.
Your voice is not so clear. Can you come again your question again? What is your question now?
Okay. No, no. I'm asking to the deployment process. Deployment where you will be customize the deployment or this is the SaaS only. Will just will be saving the what are the changes that automatically reflecting into the all parts.
See, deployment, whatever the changes, everything normally, see, I will show you one thing. I'll write down here. For example, normally we have 4 roles here. Let me write down here. Okay, these are the 4 different roles. Because it is nothing to do with deployment, I'll tell you. There are 4 roles. One is business analyst role you have. As a BA, what you do, you have a stakeholder. You are gathering the information from the stakeholder. Okay. Who is gathering the information? As a BA, you are gathering. Either it can be page level changes you want to make, or some data model changes you want to make, or some user interface changes, or some any configuration level changes if there is anything. So who will be doing this? That's where generally the picture. So you are gathering the requirements from the customer. For that, when you gather the requirements, what you have to do, you need to prepare, you have to document it. Either you are preparing some documents like BRDs or writing some epics and user stories and all, everything will be done by you as a BA. That is the first thing we do. So once the business analyst has taken, this will be developed by the developers. Developers has to write the code. Either it can be writing the code, you can be deployment, everything will be done by the developers under the developer studio. Whatever the development or the code level changes were made by the developer, that will be done, that will be tested by the testing team. Either it can be manual testing, automation, everything will be done by the testing team. Next, if you want to develop any new application, for example, new line of business you want to enter it, there must be some technical architecture has to be prepared. That will be done by the architect. So if you are a business analyst, to make it very simple, whatever the required changes that are to be made in the application, what kind of requirements are needed to make the changes, those requirements will be gathered you as a business analyst from the stakeholders. You are documenting it as form of BRDs or something, or you are creating some user stories or something. These will be given to the development team so that developers will do the changes. This is what generally the role of a BA is all about. You are clear
Yeah.
now?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're talking about deployment and all, just let us not discuss on it. Right? So because we are nothing to deployment means before you are delivering project to the client or a piece of module, we do the deployment. To do the deployment, there are deployment teams as separate, right? They do the deployment. They do the deployment in the customer environment. There is a client environment where we do it. So here it's a cloud application. Okay, there is nothing as infrastructure as separate because everything we are deploying in the cloud environment. So there is no infrastructural changes you see here. Understood now? You are clear? Prasad?
Yes, yes.
Right. So as a business analyst, so this is where point. There are applications there are some changes that are needed to make in the application. Either it can be user interface level or Guidewire data model level changes. So there must be some intermediary between business community to technical community, business community to technical community, right? There must be some intermediary between these two. So this gap will be bridged by the role of a business analyst. Whatever the change required. So that will be taken by the BA from the business community, means nothing but end users or the users. And this will be communicated to the technical team. How this will be communicated? To communicate this, we need to prepare some documents, something like BRDs, right? So at the same time, writing some user stories in using some Jira or something. All these things has to be done by the BA. So it's more or less like a functional role as a BA you will be doing. If you're a developer, it will be a more of technical role. If you are a tester, it is a techno-functional role. It's an architect, it's completely a technical role. So if you are a business analyst, it's more like a functional role. This is what generally the role of a BA is all about. Now, as a Guidewire business analyst, what is that something you want to learn? First of all, you must be knowing some basic understanding over property and casualty insurance. So how property casualty insurance company functions, that you must be aware of. Point number one. Point number one is this. Okay, point number one. Second, you must be knowing about the flow process of policy center, or it can be policy center, or it can be billing claims. The flow process you must be aware of. Point number two. Second, you must be having some knowledge areas experience, because if you are turning yourself into a business analyst, there are some profound knowledge areas are there, because how you need to manage your stakeholders, right? So how to prepare some documents, how to understand the requirements of the customer, how the problem will be converted into a solution, how the solution will be documented. Either you are preparing some documents, writing some epics and user stories and all. So knowledge areas experience is also mandatory for you as a BA. That is required. Next, some understanding over configuration and integration is required. It's desirable even nowadays, because any kind of configuration that are to be made by the developers, or any integration that we are making from one to many or many to many systems, that requirements has to be understood from the requirement perspective, because you are the part of business analyst role. You must have some detailed understanding over the requirement perspective. From the requirement perspective, understanding about the configuration and integration process is also, as a BA, you must be aware of. Next, when we develop any application, there are different models we use, something like waterfall model, V model and all. We used to use waterfall model for a very long time. Now we are going for agile model. We are using agile now. So you must be having some understanding over the software development lifecycle process, followed by the models. Because if you are using traditional model, writing user stories. So this sort of communication is required. Next, understanding the business rules. Understanding the business rules means, for example, if you have taken the policy center here, right? So because some changes you want to, if you want to reflect these changes in the application, for example, some new field that is to be added, where this will be done in the Guidewire by the developer. If developer want to make the changes, what is required here in the activity pattern, you have to make the changes. You have to add some new activity pattern. Please mute yourself. Mr. Sai, please mute yourself. right? So we have to make some changes in this, right? So if a developer want to make the changes on the developer studio, what is needed? Some kind of activity pattern that are to be edited, okay, or that are to be added. So this is where generally as a BA, you must be aware of. For that, this is what generally we call it as business rules are. It's okay, no problem. Thank you. Right? So this is what generally we call it as rules. Rules, nothing but business rules, because my organization has a different business rule. Another organization has a different business rule altogether. So understanding the business rules and making some necessary changes, practically speaking, in the coding environment will be done by the developer. But how developer do? Based upon the instructions given by someone. That's where as a BA, we have to define the business rules. We have to make some necessary changes on the application. So knowing about business rules, knowing about exposure rules, knowing about the business workflow, this is something as a BA you will be learning. That's what generally the Guidewire Business Analyst is all about. Is it clear, everyone? Amit, Dinesh, Kanchan, Karthik, Krishna, Prasad, Sai, Shyamla. Good.
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
Right. Now, if you have any questions, please go ahead. Please go ahead if you have any questions.
Raj, I have one question.
Go ahead, please.
As you have said, just after taking the requirement gathering, we are just um, passing to the development team, and after that to the testing. Then after to it will be the architect team. So at that the foot of the scenario, I would like to know one thing, that for the point number 6 and 7, the business rules and the exposure rules and the business